To Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome to it, a Thursday with Hail Varsity Radio, presented by Currency. For all your equipment financing needs, go Currency. Schmidt and Elijah Herbel, Stocking Hat Thursday. If you are in the Midwest or in Nebraska, you know. If you're somewhere warm, good for you. Hope you're doing all right. We are going to get after it. Some thoughts on projecting this recruiting class. Also, the topic of attrition. Brandon Vogel going to join us from HailVarsity.com and magazine. And we talked to Vogues this morning over on sister station KFOR here locally in Lincoln. And I asked Vogues what he was up to, and Vogues is enjoying his holidays somewhere in the woods in a cabin.
Yeah, I think there was a famous movie by that title, Cabin in the Woods. So we'll
probably a book too that Vogues has written or read.
Well, have you seen Cabin in the Woods?
No.
It's an absolute horror movie about all these. I think it's about these teenage friends that go to a cabin in the woods and like some mass murder starts picking off one by one.
We've set the tone this holiday season.
So we're sending thoughts and prayers to Brandon Vogel as he's at a cabin in the woods.
Vogues right now has got his axe handy, and he's getting firewood ready before his big radio hit. So excited to spend time with Brandon Vogel. He's back with us in hour two. Bill Doleman is somewhere that doesn't require a stocking hat. He is. Last time I checked in, he was either in Arkansas or Mississippi, maybe Jacksonville bound. We'll catch up with the Pride of Fairbury and NBC Sports, the Professor Bill Doleman here in hour two. Gary Barnett will join us. We'll get his reaction to Coach Prime and kind of the fallout with how things went with their class, specifically how some of the scholarships weren't honored, but also Coach Barnett's take on the job Matt Rhule did in short order. And that will be some good info from Coach Barnett. And then we'll wind out the show with Danny Burke from Wiesen. Plenty of NFL options. Got your Thursday night football, your Christmas Day football, your Sunday ball. So lots of NFL action squeezed around some of those December bowl games. Numbers to get in can join us today on Hail Varsity at 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. Can send emails that way. We'll get to more of your emails, Chris at HailVarsity.com. And if you want to interact on the show, always excited to do that via StreamYard. You can watch and send your comments in on the Hail Varsity YouTube channel. Also on Twitter, ESPN Lincoln's Facebook and Twitter. And then the Hail Varsity Radio Twitter handle. Give that a follow as well at HVarsity Radio. Can watch the show that way. Can also watch Coffee and Cream weekday mornings with Damon Benning and Andrew Rogers, 7 to 9 a.m. Find us on Twitter at Schmidt_radio or at Herbal Essence. Last pitch for you. Still time to get your subscription to Hail Varsity magazine, HailVarsity.com. Can log on, HailVarsity.com /
You got it. I believe in you.
It's not subscribe.
It's not.
It is not subscribe, but /offer.
Yeah, you got it. He finally got it.
Well, I was waiting for this damn scroll to come across. It's offer.
Well, that's a great thing to mention for the listeners at home. We know it's a URL. You got to remember, put it in the back of your head, HailVarsity.com / offer. But if you're like, man, what did those guys say? I don't want to go scrub through the entire podcast. We do have it constantly rolling at the bottom of our live stream. Again, that's up on the Hail Varsity Twitter page, Hail Varsity's YouTube page, ESPN Lincoln's Twitter, ESPN Lincoln's Facebook. A lot of great places for you to check it out. You can always see it at the bottom of the scroll there and get yourself a deal. I believe it's $20 off an annual subscription.
That's a win. And it goes well with what's been on our mind, and that is recruiting in signing day. You want to sign on the dotted line, you get an offer because of what your film has said, what you've shown in camp, maybe some other interest around the region, right? You're going to get an offer. Are you going to sign? And listen, we'll know in 2 to 3 years how yesterday went for Nebraska football. We'll know how things go from an attrition standpoint. What's Nebraska able to retain with this class? Are there kids that stick and stay, and are they able to be developed? Are they coached up, right? And that's such a big part of what Matt Rhule is really all about. It's really a big part of why you keep a guy like Donnie Raiola, because not only are you guys on the same page philosophically with how you want the offensive line to play, but listen, both guys are going to work on the offensive line, that group specifically, to get what's here at a better level. They believe that can happen. And then 4 of the Nebraska kids that you signed in yesterday's class, the early signing period, you have 4 linemen from the state of Nebraska. And that's how Nebraska is going to get back to being Nebraska, getting back to being competitive, getting back to being a team that's pretty physical and tough and deep, right? You do that through development. And we can smile, if you're a Nebraska fan, about the number of commits, and we can smile about the track record of development. But ultimately, it's going to come down to a two-way street of kids being coachable, kids getting better through drill work and practice. I know that sounds boring, but then it translating to performance on the field. And it's also going to be about evaluating the right guy. I think you look back, and as we talk attrition for a minute, you look at all the kids, and all's a term, but you look at a majority of the kids that came in some of Coach Frost's early classes. And this isn't, let's get the old Festivus stick out and cane Scott Frost. It's the fact that they knew what they knew from where they were. Where were their recruiting ties? Who did they know? Who did they think could, okay, they're speed demons and they're fast, so let's bring them up to Big Ten football. Well, who knows? A lot of those kids didn't stay. Different reasons: homesick, COVID, not big enough, or got impatient, whatever the case, right? There's 100 different reasons.
System didn't quite fit them. I think we saw it a couple times offensively,
yes,
where, you know what, maybe the system, or they fit the system that Scott Frost had in mind whenever he first started out at Nebraska. But then after a year in the Big Ten, he said, okay, we're going to have to amend our system here a little bit. And now half that first recruiting class no longer fits the system. And that's an exaggerated number, but you get what I'm saying. There's that Scott Frost's plan seemed ever evolving while he was here at Nebraska. And therefore it felt like recruits that were big wins on the recruiting trail no longer quite fit what he wanted to do, both offensively and defensively.
And they could have fit at Central Florida. They could have fit at Oregon. They just didn't fit for Big Ten. And that's one of the things that you carry with you from Coach Rhule's comments yesterday, is figuring out how to win. What's it going to take to win in the Big Ten? You think you know, right? But that formula at Temple and that formula at Baylor, from a stylistic standpoint, does that win week in, week out at Big Ten level of play? Just because it's different. And so he's smart, obviously, with not knowing what he doesn't know, and that is, all right, what's it? We got to figure out how to win here. And I'm paraphrasing, but that is super important.
And it's such a noted shift from, well, we think the Big Ten's going to have to adjust to us. And again, not to get out the old Festivus stick, like you said, Schmitty, but it's such a noted change that it feels like a breath of fresh air.
That's a lot of what you have, right? And you're taking away from yesterday and just all encompassing of Coach Rhule with his persona, what he spends time on football, and the results will be the hype. Versus let's hype, and then those results should follow because of all the hype. There's some more There's some more substance here. And some guys are 4-stars. Some guys are portal guys. He didn't just based on film or availability, just go grab. He had to hurry because of when he got here, but he didn't rush. He was still thorough enough. There was still a plan. And from an evaluation standpoint, there's been time put in to evaluate. And, where's Nebraska going to go with some of their areas of need, right? You got 3 linebackers. Okay, a couple of them are high school. You got no tight ends. You didn't get a high school quarterback. Those are a couple of holes.
Interior defensive line is the big one I look at, and I go, that was a big weak point for Nebraska last season, not necessarily in the starting lineup, but in the fact that
your depth.
By the third and fourth quarter, you don't have any more guys that can rotate in on the interior defensive line. And Schmidt, were there any true interior defensive linemen that were added in this class? I mean, you have Machacek, we talked to yesterday, who is potentially an interior defensive lineman, but that was a big one that I thought needed instant attention. We haven't quite seen it, and maybe they have a plan with transfer portal in the spring there to try to bring in some more guys in the interior defensive line, but that's the most major and pressing need that I don't think has been filled yet by Matt Rhule and his staff.
Well, you have a couple of guys here that you're going to get in and develop. But what you don't want to have is this constant cycle of playing guys too young before they're ready.
I guess that's the point I'm getting at here is with the immediate and pressing need it felt like last season. I'm not quite sure that the need has been addressed. And I think there's 2 interior defensive linemen added.
What's in the cupboard, what's staying, and then what's behind your projected starters that's going to give you time to get at least a couple of these guys in this class ready for when it's their time. You have Vincent Carroll Jackson.
Yep.
He's out of Harrisburg. He's at 6'5", 270. Riley Van Poppel, 6'5", 275 out of Argyle, Texas. Those are the big bodies you think about. You have the offensive line guys that can go. Machacek and Goldman, both offensive line, defensive line. We both think that they're going to start out on the offensive line. But yeah, just 2 guys for this class. You still have a second signing period, okay? And there's still the portal can reopen, but you don't want to live on the portal for your lines of scrimmage. You need to settle. You can band-aid some stuff, but it's just been interesting where Nebraska went. You think back to 2021, right, and what they had, and with you had Robinson, okay, you had Stilley, all right, you had Rogers, you had Snacks. I mean, you had some bodies, and then you had some guys, D-Train. You had people that had some snaps, be able to rotate in, and then you go from solid depth to, all right, man, it's your time, Ty Robinson. It's your time, Polar Bear.
It's your time, Colton Feast.
And Colton Feast rose up. And then you went portal, right, for a couple of the kids from Power 5 schools, one kid from Bama, one kid from Tech. And they didn't play bad. And you and O'Shawn Mathis as well. They didn't play bad, but it wasn't quite the pop I think you were hoping to get or wanting to get.
As opposed to being a second unit that came in and was challenging the starters and playing up to that level, and it felt like no drop-off, which is the goal you want. If you're going to be rotating defensively, you can't have drop-off between those first and second guys, or it needs to be minimal drop-off between those first and second guys. And that's what you had 2 seasons ago. When you went from Ty Robinson to DeAndre Thomas, there was a little bit of drop-off, but it was minimal. When you went from, Ben Stilley to Casey Rogers, a little bit of drop off, but not significant.
Every time Casey Rogers came in, he had a TFL.
That's what I'm saying. But then you look at last season, and there was noticeable drop off when guys like Stephon Wynn and Devin Drew came in. Those guys needed more seasoning on him. And Stephon Wynn was the guy that was at Bama. I think he came in and performed just fine, but there was noticeable drop off.
Let's be honest, and this isn't shade at Wynn or Drew, but you look, or even O'Shawn. But based on what you saw a guy like O'Shawn put up his first 2 years in the Big 12, where he was all Big 12 and he was a sack master. And then Wynn, you're wondering, okay, why is Wynn leaving? Well, it's because there's 1,000 first rounders or third rounders in front of him, which was true at Alabama. You were expecting more splash, more steady play, probably more. And he probably did his job. You're not going to go have Sioux-type numbers unless you're Sioux on the interior. Your job's to get in the way and keep people off your linebacker. But if you have the opportunity to make some plays at the line of scrimmage, Nebraska needs more of that. And I know that Coach White is going to want more of that. Absolutely, from his defensive line setup. So you have a smaller number of interior defensive linemen taken. You don't have a ton of linebackers taken.
But I think they went quality over quantity with their linebackers.
I think you're right on. Yes, I think they were absolutely strategic
with Rodgers, with Borders, and with Fields. I think those are three guys that I think can come in and contribute right away based on the film. I mean, Tony White was just raving about what these guys can do on the field. Things are all pretty much college ready. Yeah. He pretty much said all these guys, like, I think are all conference possibilities after a couple of years here at Nebraska. And you don't say that about a guy unless they can come in and make a contribution their freshman year. Like, you look at Ernest Hausman, his freshman year, he came in, made a contribution. You saw the flash. You go, that's a Sunday guy. That's a guy that's either going to be first, second, third round in the draft here in a couple of years, and probably is an all conference type guy. Whenever you have that kind of guy in your program, they're going to come in and make an impact their freshman year. They might not start, but they'll make an impact. And I think that's what Nebraska thinks they have with these three linebackers they brought in.
Yeah, you just don't want to throw them in too early and then have them struggle and have doubt. Brandon Vogel's coming up. It's Hail Varsity, presented by Currency.
If you're not already a Hail Varsity subscriber, what are you waiting for? Sign up for a Hail Varsity subscription to receive exclusive breaking news coverage of Nebraska football, volleyball, and more. Subscriptions include 10 print issues of the Hail Varsity magazine per year, the annual Hail Varsity football yearbook, plus complete access to everything on hailvarsity.com. Visit hailvarsity.com to sign up today and get your first month free.
The next generation of ED wave therapy is now at Limitless Male. Limitless pulse-focused wave therapy has clinically proven results for men wanting to improve their relationships. ED can be caused by age, heart disease, diabetes, or medication, and it won't get better on its own. Our new non-surgical wave therapy can help stop and potentially reverse damage. Take the ED quiz at limitlessmale.com. Get help from the men's health experts.
Save big when you upgrade to new appliances from Menards. We offer the lowest prices with the largest in-stock appliance selection, ready to take home today. Whirlpool appliances are meant to make your life easier. Upgrade your home with top appliance brands including KitchenAid, Maytag, Whirlpool, Amana, and Criterion. Upgrade your home with new energy-efficient appliances and save big money at Menards. Plus, a Menards gift card always makes for a great gift idea.
Warm season's greetings to you all from Menards.
Hello, neighbor. It is Animal for Super C convenience stores. This time of year, it's kind of hard to keep your vehicle clean, so visit any of Super C's 3 car wash locations. You'll always get 10 cents off a gallon when you purchase a soft touch car wash. And who couldn't use that? For a limited time, buy one, get one free on all car washes at 70th and Pioneers. That's a deal. Plus, get hot snacks, cool drinks from your locally owned Super C, where they're always happy to see you. Oh, and don't forget the ice.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language, like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Babbel. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
So I switched to Boost Mobile and got this free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone.
Why do you think they call it the Galaxy?
Maybe because the Samsung Galaxy A23 has a huge screen, and galaxies are huge gravitationally bound systems of stars rotating around a supermassive black hole.
And the phone is free?
When you switch to Boost Mobile.
Cool. You lost me at gravitationally bound.
Switch to Boost and get a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone. Boost Mobile. Unleash your power. Limited time offer while supplies last. New customers only. Excludes tax. One device offer per line. Only available on certain networks. 5G not available everywhere. Additional restrictions apply. See your local Boost Mobile store for details.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you, it's Hail Varsity, presented by Currency. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, the managing editor for HailVarsity.com and magazine. Again, that special, HailVarsity.com
Offer. Come on.
No, I was there. We just say it together. It's offer.
We got to make the listeners at home think about it. They're gonna hear that and they're gonna go, "What is it? Is it
Like,
offer?"
shut up about selling me things. Offer. Take care of yourself, digital and print. You'll love it. Folks, we were having a smile about you being out in the woods in a cabin. There's no snow. There's no wind chill. You're living your best life. I love it. Explain to our listeners and those that are watching Hail Varsity YouTube channel and, of course, Hail Varsity Radio, Twitter, and ESPN Lincoln Twitter, where you're at. You're off in the woods collecting your thoughts, decompressing from signing day in the latest issue. Hang on, and shameless plug here. Latest issue of Hail Varsity. So you are hunkered down for Christmas. Is there a wood chipper near you?
There's not a wood chipper. There is a river about probably 50 yards over my left shoulder. I'm actually out on the screened-in porch / grill / bar area. So it's warm enough for that today here in eastern Tennessee. But I think like everybody else, we're expected to drop about 30 degrees overnight and see the coldest temperatures in decades. So it's coming. So I enjoyed the chance to just sit out here and chat some football.
Do you have, and I'll get to football, but do you have like the Heisenberg kind of stove in the middle of the main cabin region?
No, this isn't quite that rustic of a cabin. It's the amenities are a little bit more modern. We're actually heading back to Chattanooga tomorrow, so just got out for a night or two and enjoying that.
Have you seen that movie? It's probably about 10 years old now, called Cabin in the Woods. I think it has one of the Hemsworth brothers in it, and I've never quite seen it, but I heard Vogel was in a cabin in the woods, and that was the first place my mind went, is that he'd probably be looking over his shoulder.
I have seen that movie. I enjoyed it. It was a pretty fun one. So far, our cabin in the woods has not had any of the misadventures that are portrayed in that film, and we're hoping to avoid that. We'll take a more sedate, boring cabin in the woods.
Well, okay, this all can circle back and tie into recruiting. There's been misadventures with classes. You nailed in your column on HailVarsity.com the rundown here, the bullet points, if you will. And Vogues, you've always focused on a key point in any programs, but specifically with Nebraska, and that's attrition. What's normal? What's normal in a 4-year window, and what's normal for a class? Let's start there with the dirty word of attrition and how it's affected Nebraska.
Yeah, so what has been normal at Nebraska in the past is a little over 40%. So I think looking at 2011 you can go all the way to this past class. The thing with this is, like the 22 class has only had one cycle to leave yet. So it usually takes it a while to catch up. But right around 40-42%, I think it might be a little bit higher than, some of Nebraska's peer schools, but not drastically so. And, on a day like signing day where these schools sign 20 some guys, you kind of got to look at it and say, well, 8 of those probably aren't going to end up finishing their career at Nebraska for sure. And that's just kind of the rate at which these things go. The Scott Frost era was a little bit higher. It's tough to assess what that means right now, if that was because of the lack of success on the field, or if it was because the entire transfer process changed while he was the Huskers head coach. So that'll be, monitoring that more closely. It'll be interesting to see when we get 4, 5, 6 years down the road to see if that attrition rate has risen at Nebraska as well as at other schools. And I kind of expect that it will, because, this is only the third transfer period where guys can transfer and not lose a year of eligibility. That drastically changes things.
And it does almost feel like the transfer portal year in, year out is getting crazier and crazier, where bigger and bigger names are into the transfer portal. More and more people are checking out, let's see what NIL opportunities are out there. And I can always go back to the school that I came from should I not find what I was looking for. But it just feels like every single year there's more and more splash names, splash type players in the portal. And it's not just because of coaching changes like it was almost 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's not. And I think, you're still seeing, so this is the third fall where they've had that opportunity, or second fall. Sorry, I'm all mixed up. it still feels new enough. It still feels like kind of a new avenue to explore. I expect we get 3-4 years down the road. I would expect it to slow down a little bit because I mean you see the numbers that are in the transfer portal now, and you just know that there's not enough spots for where guys want to go. Now they can always go down a little bit lower, and I do think overall that's what the transfer portal is doing. Is it's helping guys find the level that is actually right for their kind of skill level. That said, it's viewed more as, hey, there's a big opportunity here. Let's go out and chase it. And I don't begrudge anybody that, but I do expect, it's going to take a couple of cycles of people seeing, hey, I went to the portal and this didn't work out for me at all, for that to slow down at all.
Brandon, a point I made up on the show yesterday, and I want to get your take on it, is that the transfer portal right now is what JUCO was to college football 10 years ago. You know what? If a guy's at a school like Rhode Island or name a smaller school, that's almost a new JUCO. You go get a D1 experience, you can go get some college strength training underneath your belt, you can get some college D1 experience, and then you know what? If you bet on yourself and the bet works out, you can go up to a Power 5 program, become an instant starter, get a year or two there, and then head off to the NFL.
Yeah, you can. And I mean, we've seen, Samori Toure last year with Nebraska coming up from the FCS. Like I'm excited for those guys that kind of prove themselves at Rhode Island, for example, like Cornelius, who ended up going to Oregon. The ones that kind of give me pause are Alabama had a starter on their offensive line this year who became a really great player at Vanderbilt. Those are the ones that, like, just as a college football fan, make me kind of throw up the stop sign a little bit. Like if Vandy is basically a farm league for Alabama, Georgia, etc., then things get a little bit dicey for me. But what can you do? I mean, you got to have a rule that treats everybody the same. And why, I guess, is that different than, say, going from Montana to Nebraska? I'm just not ready to, I guess, acknowledge that Vanderbilt or Northwestern or somebody along those lines might be just kind of a power, not just a Power 5 or Power 2 conference feeder program, but the top levels of those, the Power 5, Power 2.
Brandon Vogel in a cabin in the woods with us here on Hail Varsity Radio, talking Nebraska and signing day. When you look at some takeaways, Vogues, you go through the names, you go through the class, we'll be able to grade this accurately 2 to 3 to 4 years down the road. Whether you stay, you hit on a kid, or a walk-on is an eraser for you. If a scholarship guy didn't live up to the hype or the hope anyway. But what did you like about Rhule's first haul?
The thing that stuck with me from yesterday and listening to him, speak for a good amount, and the players that they chose, was that everyone out there talks about development, right? I mean, it's kind of unavoidable. You've got to do it. But with Rhule, I really do sense kind of a passion for it. And you see that evidence in some of the guys that they took. Bryce Turner, based on track times, is probably one of the 10 fastest guys in Texas. That said, it came out of nowhere. And this staff, Coach Rhule, and the guys that have been with him are like, no, like you can't coach how fast that guy is. And we're excited to get him better as a football player. You have those examples, and there are a handful of them in this class. So it's a heavy developmental class, I think, which a lot of times, people might view as a negative. I think here at the start of a tenure, it's okay. I mean, you're out there trying to do what the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Ohio States of the world do, which is just accumulate the highest level talent you can get. But if you're not at that level, and not many teams are, most teams are closer to where Nebraska is at, where you've got to get your evaluations right on some guys, and then you've got to coach them well. And I sense a real passion for doing that from this staff.
Brandon, on the flip side of things, a topic we were discussing in our first segment was, well, what are some holes that still remain in this roster following the early signing period? And you have probably 5 months to try to get some of those things covered. Once you get through spring ball, once you get into summer, you kind of need to have your roster closer to finalized. But what holes do you still see in this roster, things that give you a little pause with this 2023 team?
Yeah, I think the big one, if they could add some experience on the O-line, would be would be one that I would highlight. And Matt Rhule talked pretty glowingly about Nebraska's offensive line that's coming back. So that was interesting to me as well. But the thing with the portal is those kind of a Cornelius, for example, those guys Ohio State was in on him right away. Those kind of offensive linemen who have proven themselves elsewhere are the hottest and maybe hardest commodity to get in the transfer portal. But if Nebraska could add some experience there, maybe just one guy, I think that would be big. I would look for them to look pretty hard at running back as well. Not that the depth is bad there, but I think there's room to add on that one. And then, in the secondary, they've got a lot of good young players, but that's one where you're going to see a lot of good potential candidates via the transfer portal or even via January recruiting, because we've still got that too. It's not out of the question that Nebraska adds a couple of more before February signing day.
Vogues, I've got about a minute here. I want to hold you over for just a couple of minutes, and then I'll let you go crank the wood chipper up and continue to enjoy family time. But we'll spend some time and dive in with kind of what got away. We focused on, and rightfully so, what Nebraska did do, and that is do well in state. They got 8 Nebraskans. They did well with the 500-mile radius that you've highlighted, and you also featured in the latest issue of the magazine, where that's always kind of been a key to success for Nebraska. But you do have some in-state and some regional guys that got away. So I want to get your take on that. Hang tight, all right? How big is the bar, or did you have to bring your own hydration station?
Yeah, it wasn't stocked, so the bar is plenty big, but we kept it pretty minimal for our 2-night stay.
Okay.
That's fair enough.
It wasn't stocked. There's a sadness in his eyes, folks. He said the bar wasn't stocked. Brendan Vogel taking some time for us here on Hail Varsity. We'll get his take on some of the regional talent and how Nebraska can maybe fix that next cycle with some quarterbacks. And you mentioned JUCO, Elijah. Iowa Western won the national title. They had a couple of guys go elsewhere. More with Vogues next.
'Twas the night before approval, and I heard all through the city. I want a nicer, newer car, but my credit, oh, what a pity. I wanted a truck, mama, an SUV, but maybe a car'd be more practical. We'll see. There arose such a noise on my radio. I knew right then I had to go see Approved by Joe. He asked, have you been turned down before? Still making payments on that old sled? Worried about getting Scrooged? Come here instead. With very quick work and very little pain, I heard Approved by Joe call them by name. On Chris, on Josh, on Sam, Don, and Lorenzo, on Andrea, on Kendall. Let's get these customers handled. When what to my wondering eyes did appear with $5 down, a credit approval, my dear. Joe wants your trade, he'll pay more than anyone, and his team won't quit until they get your deal done. With our For the People credit approval process, bring us $5, bring us your trade, we'll take out the stress. I heard him exclaim as I had the store in sight. Happy approval to all, and to all a nicer, newer ride. I'm Joe Clemens, and I'm your dealer for the people. Come see us at Capital City Automax or online at approvedbyjoe.com, approvedbyjoe.com, www.approvedbyjoe.com.
All terms subject to approval. Some requirements. Ho, ho, ho.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Thinking about gas mileage? If your check engine light is on, it may be affecting your MPGs, but the free AutoZone Fix Finder service can help. With the most complete free warning light report backed by technician-verified fixes, you'll know what's affecting your gas mileage and more, and you don't have to drive too far to find the fix. The free AutoZone Fix Finder service is available at all 6,200 stores.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
See details at AutoZone.com.
The Venture X card from Capital One gives you premium travel benefits, perfect for seeing Taylor Swift the Eras Tour. Presented by Capital One. Ooh, I do love her. Earn 5 times miles on flights and 10 times miles on hotels through Capital One Travel.
Enjoy your stay in Suite 13.
Whoa, 13? That's Taylor's lucky number. The Venture X card from Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
When a cold comes on strong, knock it out with Vicks DayQuil Severe for max strength daytime relief. Just 1 dose of Vicks DayQuil Severe starts to relieve 9 of your worst cold and flu symptoms to help take you from 9 to none. Power through your day with Vicks DayQuil Severe, The daytime non-drowsy, coughing, aching, fever, sore throat, 9 to none medicine. Use as directed.
Do you struggle with occasional nerve aches in your hands or feet? Try Nervive Nerve Relief from the world's #1 nerve care company. Nervive tablets contain alpha-lipoic acid to relieve nerve aches, weakness, and discomfort, plus B-complex vitamins to support healthy nerve function as you age. Live life with less nerve discomfort with Nervive Nerve Relief. Learn more at nervivehealth.com. And try Nervive Pain Relieving Cream to block nerve pain signals at the source. Use as directed.
Chime in 402-466-ESPN or email the show, Chris@HailVarsity.com.
Just try me.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Strangely enough, Vogues and I are texting about early 1990s Nike. Something showed up on a feed with the Fab Five. Charles Barkley's. If you're a basketball fan and you remember the Fab Five against North Carolina, the infamous timeout game, all Michigan wore were those 3/4, like 180 airs. And Vogues and I are talking about great shoes from our junior high era. You still have some of those, Vogues?
I just one pair. I eventually donated all the Air Jordans I had before because they were old and I wore them before I realized there was going to be a market for like true vintage shoes that weren't in the best shape. The only ones I held on to were the red Air Maestros, which we were just talking about, which I wore in my freshman year of high school. I still remember Scottie Pippen wore those,
Yes.
but they debuted at the dunk contest via James Robinson, and I was like, holy cow, what are those? He's wearing all red shoes. At that point, shoes basically came black or white for the most part. You'd have some accent colors. So for somebody to have all red shoes, I think of it all the time now where, you've got the entire rainbow of colors, no matter what color the team is on the basketball court, and guys wearing magenta shoes. It's like, makes me sound old, but it's how I feel. It's like you had no idea how big of a deal it was when somebody just had red shoes.
That was nice. The options for sure. Vogues, Nebraska was good with getting in-state talent, but Coach Rhule adamant about wanting to keep all the kids here, and you had some pretty good linemen from not necessarily Nebraska get away, but you look at the Missouri region, specifically the Kansas City area. You had a handful. I mean, Oklahoma just cleaned up, and Venables is a Kansas guy, so that's not that shocking. He does well in the state of Kansas or Kansas City region anyway, but Nebraska didn't get anybody from Kansas City. You have Bramer go to Iowa State, and then you had Thompson. Elijah and I were just talking about interior defensive line help. Thompson goes to Iowa from Iowa Western. Jamison Davis going to Auburn from Iowa Western. And, of course, you had the Colorado linebacker Hayden Moore end up going to Michigan, decommitting from Nebraska. Then Dylan Edwards ends up with Dion. So there's still some work to do within this 500-mile radius, not critiquing it all because I think Nebraska did well. But that's got to be something that they want to correct here, second wave of signing or in the future, don't you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, before Malachi Coleman, declared for Nebraska, I was wondering if 3 of the top pass catchers in the state were gonna go to the Big 8, just not at Nebraska. Two at Iowa State, 1 at Colorado. That would have been a tough pill to swallow for someone who remembers the Big 8, but kept Coleman in. I think that Nebraska did a good job with a little amount of time with this new coaching staff. I think of getting out locally, it's just tough to make up, that much ground with some of these guys, and you're going to lose some people when you have a coaching transition. That's just part of it. So I do expect, and Rhule, I thought, spoke pretty strongly about it yesterday about keeping that base as local as we've seen it. And this was a group that the average recruit came from inside the 500-mile radius. Usually most classes are a little bit over that. I think Frost's 2020 class, or maybe it was 2019, averaged about 660 miles away. So there was a definite regional flavor to this, and that's without them, I think, being able to build a relationship with Iowa Western, which, by the way, those offers you mentioned, that Iowa Western defense was legit. I watched that NJCAA championship game and came away really, really impressed.
Brandon Vogel's with us here. It's Hail Varsity Radio. And Vogue, shifting gears here a little bit. In my years working on this show, we've had Wandale watch. We've had Fedoni watch. This past summer, we had Malachi Coleman watch. Is it time to start Rhule watch?
Yeah, I think if we need to, break a bottle of champagne on a boat to officially get it started, we can do that. But I think unofficially, the moment that decommitment came in, it got started for Nebraska fans. So we'll see. The ones that you mentioned were pretty big, pretty intense recruiting battles with an intense following with Rhule, with him being the best player, the best quarterback in that 2024 class at this point, with his connections to Nebraska. That might blow some of those other ones away. It's going to be a wild ride to watch what happens there.
Folks, I'd like to note that lakes and rivers are frozen over here in Nebraska. I'm not sure we're going to find a boat to break a bottle of champagne on, but we will do a bottle of champagne on a cabin in the woods. I think will be a finer place.
Or we just go back to Ireland. I can get you a boat.
Yeah, that's true. We can get a giant pair of scissors and do a ribbon cutting if we need to.
Brandon Vogel with us, HailVarsity.com and magazine, at Brandon L. Vogel on Twitter. Vogues, Flores, Keinholz, Avery Johnson, J.J. Cole, of those four Midwest quarterbacks that went elsewhere, is there one you liked best that more so than others? Really nice year for Midwest quarterbacks. You look at Keinholz to Ohio State, Johnson to Kansas State, you have Cole to Iowa State, and then Flores, of course, to the Mullet Land.
Yeah. For me, I mean, and it's probably just a little bit of recency bias. I saw the most out of Flores. It was really impressed with him, not just in terms of his skill level, but he struck me in the times I got to watch him as just kind of a gamer, which I think is the intangible with a quarterback that you're always looking for. It's hard to find. So to see him, good for him. He remained pretty solid in that Oklahoma State commit from the get-go. Would have been nice to see Nebraska in on him a little bit earlier, in my opinion. But, each coaching staff's trying to evaluate what they think they need at that spot. So he's somebody I'll follow pretty closely. It's kind of similar to Max Duggan for me. Enjoyed watching him at TCU, none more so than this year. And I think Flores is going to be a guy who's in that same category for me as he goes to Oklahoma State.
Brandon Vogel with us. Vogues.
Wait, Vogues, before we get you out, I got one. Is that okay, Schmitty?
Sure.
I got one.
He's the doctor. He's like, damn it, you're burning up my cabin time.
Well, this is related to camping. I got to get the answer. I've been thinking about doing some winter camping. Brandon Vogel's preferred camping meal of choice is what?
I go with a ham. So I'm a ham guy, and I really like country ham, which may not be for everyone because it's like super, super salty. But because it's so super salty and preserved, like you can carry it in your backpack. It doesn't need to be refrigerated. Get a small campfire going. You have a little campfire frying pan. Slap those ham slices in, and you're good to go.
I thought he was going to go with fresh trout from a river.
Way too much work on that.
Out his window, or he was going to go kill his victuals and throw it over an open fire. Look, there's Bambi. Vogue is a big venison guy. Brandon Vogel on a little holiday. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, Vogues. We'll talk soon. Thank you.
You as well, guys. Thanks.
There he is. He's like, let me get out of here.
Should be noted, my favorite camping meal is Fireball whiskey.
Okay. And that is a winner. We'll wind down hour one. Bill Doleman's 15 minutes away. Gary Barnett next hour with Hail Varsity.
Dancing crew, trip it to, nail the final interview. Game with the brand new mug. Come here, kids. Give me a hug. The more you want to do, the more we want to do. New COVID-19 boosters designed for recent Omicron variants are now available. Learn about eligibility and schedule a free update booster today at vaccines.gov. Sponsored by Pfizer and BioNTech.
Gain presents a tale of longing and long-lasting scent. Dear love of my life, we were on the 12B bus when I caught a whiff. A scent so fresh, so life-changing, I had to find its source. I didn't know if you were the woman in the pink freshly washed cardigan or the retired mailman next to me, but I knew one of you was my soulmate. Ah, the scent of Gain Flings. Add Gain scent beads for an even longer-lasting scent.
Did you hear about Taco Bell's apology? Yeah, they apologized for going too far with their breakfast. Like the naked egg taco and chicken biscuit nachos? It was too much. All you need in the morning is tasty, simple food. Like the breakfast crunch wrap. Fluffy eggs, melty cheese, sausage, crispy hash browns, wrapped in a warm tortilla. Or, as some call it, a breakfast crunch thing. Grab one today, only at Taco Bell. At participating U.S. Taco Bell stores during breakfast hours only until 11 a.m. while supplies last. Contact local store for hours and participation which vary.
Last minute shopping? Good thing Ulta Beauty's first on your list. From gotta have it ready-to-go kits from Fenty and Benefit to cult favorite mascaras to simple yet perfect Ulta Beauty gift cards. We have gifts everyone will love this season. So get shopping. Because our kind of holiday is you having your kind of holiday. Hurry to an Ulta Beauty near you or buy online and pick up in store. Ulta Beauty, the possibilities are beautiful.
Oh yes, Christmas time. Sleigh bells are ringing. The Cornelius and the other nutcrackers are set up firmly on the mantle. And all over Lincoln, folks are saving a stocking full of cash on car wash memberships and bundle packs from Jet Splash Car Wash.
Is that right?
Yes, Cornelius. You could save up to $20 on 3-month memberships, $50 on 6 months, and $120 on annual memberships.
Wow.
By Cornelius, it is jaw-dropping. Shop online at jetsplash.com.
I'm weatherology meteorologist Michael Caro with your capital city forecast. For this afternoon, a winter weather advisory continuing, as well as a wind chill warning. Plan on blowing snow for this afternoon, staying frigid, high of only 6 below zero. And that's the forecast on Lincoln's ESPN. Right now, 6 below.
Call John Henry's today for a $99 heating system service to make sure your home can handle any weather Mother Nature has to throw at us.
435-5555.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you, Hail Varsity, winding down hour one. Bill Doleman coming up. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. What's wrong with our stream?
I don't know. There's a man who is not you as the avatar.
That's Animal from our friends down the hall at the Blaze. I'm not as cool as Animal, that's for sure.
Let me get this fixed on the stream real quick.
That'd be good.
There we go.
Reminder about buckling up. 'Tis the holiday season, and a reminder to keep your hands on the wheel, eyes in mind. Straight ahead, the driver has one job: to drive. A message from the Nebraska Department of Highway Safety Office.
Do you like the fix?
I can't see it.
You can't?
No.
It's right there. I changed your name from Chris Schmidt to not Chris Schmidt.
There we go. Do I need to shake the computer like it's an Etch-a-Sketch, or what happens here?
If you just talk for a second, I'll walk into the studio and see what I can do.
Okay, that would be good. So this story's out, and it's pretty interesting. And maybe you saw a situation where I am not a tech guy. Elijah's fixing the computer. Well done. Look at him. All he had to do is push a button. You old idiot, is what his thought bubble's saying. But you had this situation where you had the crazy win by Vegas over New England. And Elijah, I think you saw this, where you have a Patriots fan sitting 7,000 rows up in Vegas' stadium. And shockingly enough, there was an obnoxious Raider fan. and she looked like she could bench more than many offensive lines. Okay. And she's sitting there, and this guy's in a Patriots jersey, which is brave enough anyway to wear to a Raider game. You don't wear anything but Raider gear at a Raider game. be it the Black Hole back in the day in Oakland or Los Angeles Coliseum, and now in Vegas, the whole world descends on Raider Nation. And this gal's just hammering this guy in his ear. There's no airspace. She's clearly in his bubble. And this guy and his dad are just ignoring her. They're being good fans. They're clearly outnumbered. But he put up with about as much as you can put up with. And then for the way to end the game like that, spend money, travel out to Vegas, you're 400,000 rows up, and you can see ants on the field. And then you got hammered Raider fan, or just obnoxious Raider fan. I shouldn't say hammered. That's libelous or potentially slanderous. And the guy just kept ignoring her. And she's just doing everything but touching him. But she's close enough to warrant a reaction with most people. Mm-hmm. Either a scream or a getaway or some sort of response. Well, Robert Kraft saw this video and said, you know what? Thanks for standing up and being a Pats fan. Thanks for handling things the right way. You got a customized jersey. You've got field passes. You are going to New England v. Cincinnati this weekend. I hope Kraft went the extra mile since it's going to be 4,000 degrees below zero and got him sweet seats. Don't know that. But Robert Kraft rewarding a fan for model behavior.
Before I say this, I'd like to note there are some good Raider fans out there. I know Shane with Coffee and Cream.
Sure.
Raiders fan, good Raiders fan. But everyone praises...
You cross Shane, though, he would shiv you in true Raider fashion.
This is exactly where I was going. The guy, everyone's praising his restraint here, being the bigger man. He was surrounded by 40,000 Raider fans. That's in danger of
No, I know. You can't do anything.
You're going to get shanked, dude.
So he minded his business, but he got rewarded for it. Bill Doleman's on the way.
This is an important notice to all U.S. taxpayers. The IRS is giving away billions of dollars in tax savings through a federal program called the Fresh Start Initiative to aid delinquent taxpayers. This initiative was established for anyone facing financial hardship and unable to pay their back taxes. Qualifying and enrolling in this program will stop all collections, settle your delinquent tax problem, and even reduce what you owe by thousands of dollars. Call the hotline at People's Tax Relief to see if you qualify and get this free information by dialing 800-285-2521. If you have unfiled tax returns or cannot afford to pay your personal or business back taxes, you can now get the help you need. One simple phone call can resolve your tax problem and save you thousands of dollars. To see if you qualify and to get this important free information, call 800-285-2521. 800-285-2521. 800-285-2521.
Football season is underway, so now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's free bets back. If your first bet doesn't win, just sign up with the promo code WIN. FanDuel has all your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props. So sign up today with promo code WIN for your no-sweat first bet. Make every moment more this season with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Must be present in state where lawful to wager. 21 plus in select states. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit fanduel.com/RG. Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342. Arizona 1-800-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat. Connecticut 1-800-9-WITH-IT. Indiana, Kansas 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com. Louisiana 1-877-770-STOP. New York 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. Tennessee Redline 1-800-889-9789. Wyoming, West Virginia 1-800-522-4700 or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net.
From the John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Studios, this is KLMS Lincoln, the capital city's Husker Authority.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Steve Lennox. Eagles coach Nick Sirianni announcing earlier today Jalen Hurts set to miss Saturday's game against the Cowboys. Gardner Minshew is going to make the start at quarterback. Eagles need one more win to lock up the #1 seed in the NFC. Dak Prescott for the Cowboys, 2 interceptions in last Sunday's overtime loss on the road against the Jaguars. So is the pressure mounting for Dak Prescott with the Cowboys? ESPN's Bart Scott.
But all of a sudden, Dak is struggling, and 8 of his 11 turnovers has been in their own minus territory, which sets up that great defense not to look so great. Listen, the pressure is on, and Dak Prescott, because he's losing his ability to be able to run and extend plays, because I believe because of the injuries are starting to catch up.
Prescott, 10 interceptions since returning from a thumb injury in Week 7, most in the NFL during that stretch. Eagles did beat the Cowboys at home back on October 16th. Saints receiver Jarvis Landry has been placed on IR. Rookie receiver Chris Olave is going to miss Saturday's game with a hamstring injury.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive Commercial Insurance can protect your small business with over 30 coverage options, an easy-to-use mobile app, personalized discounts, and more. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
If you haven't taken problems, I feel bad for you, son. I got 99 problems, but Chris ain't one. Hit me.
Now, from the ESPN studios in New York City, this is Canty and Carlin on ESPN Radio.
Hello, neighbor. We know you've got holiday parties coming up, so make Super C your supply stop. Great specials. Bud Light, 25-ounce cans, 2 for $5. Busch Light, 25-ounce cans, 2 for $4.50. And Busch Light 18-pack cans, just $14.99. That's a great deal. Super C has your favorite seltzers, White Claw, Truly, or Quirk, whatever makes you bubble. Remember to pick up the ice for that gathering at Super C, where you'll get more ice for the same low price. Super C, where they're always happy to see you.
But yes, another morning and another day of Jet Splash's jaw-dropping holiday sale. Reginald.
Yes?
To Jet Splash we go. Marmaduke, Rutherford.
Yes?
To the car wash. Let us save $10 on a 5-pack of washes or $73 on a 22-pack.
Yeah, and get the best deals of the year on annual memberships too.
That's right, Frederick. Nutcrackers unite!
Yes,
Off the mantle and to Jet Splash Car Wash we go!
Shop online, too.
Upgrade your space and maximize storage with Closet Solutions from Menards. ClosetMate offers high-quality, multifunctional home organization solutions that will keep your home looking neat and tidy. Whether it's hanging clothes on mountable wired shelving or storing accessories in durable designer's image wooden closet sets, these Closet Solutions are everything you need to keep your home organized. Save big money on Closet Solutions now at Menards. Plus, get a Menards gift card, the perfect gift this season.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
Football season is underway, so now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's free bets back. If your first bet doesn't win, just sign up with the promo code WIN. FanDuel has all your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props. So sign up today with promo code WIN for your no-sweat first bet. Make every moment more this season with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Must be present in state where lawful to wager. 21 plus in select states. First online real money wager only. Refund issued is non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit fanduel.com/RG. Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342. Arizona 1-800-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat. Connecticut 1-800-9-WITH-IT. Indiana, Kansas 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com. Louisiana 1-877-770-STOP. New York 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789. Wyoming, West Virginia 1-800-522-4700 or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net.
If you have certain chronic conditions such as heart disease,
Asthma,
diabetes, and you're 19 years of age or older, 52,
36,
42, you may be at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. The most commonly reported side effect was pain at the injection site. For additional common side effects and full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
I'm going to ask my doctor
about getting vaccinated
with Prevnar 20.
The great thing about your phone or tablet is having information right at your fingertips. Who's that guy in the movie? Where's the best deal? Stuff like that. Of course, for insurance, you can't beat your Battle Creek Mutual Independent Agent and the new Battle Creek mobile app. Carry electronic proof of insurance, review policy info, pay your bill, or connect with your agent. And it's ready to help if you have an accident. Download the app for your device at bcmutual.com. Battle Creek Mutual Insurance. Better together.
Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Thanks for hanging out. Hour 2, it's Hail Varsity Radio. We're presented by Currency. For all your equipment financing needs, go Currency. Again, hailvarsity.com/offer. Take care of that Nebraska fan with the digital and magazine subscription. Save some moolah. Bill Doleman, Pride of Fairbury, NBC Sports, and the professor checks in. So Brandon Vogel was in a cabin in the woods in eastern Tennessee. You are down south. Are you in? Where are you? Are you in? You're in the SEC footprint as well.
I am. I'm in Hattiesburg.
Nice.
Oh, I have friends in Hattiesburg.
Is it nice?
I've heard decent things about Hattiesburg.
Hattiesburg, cool.
Yeah. Well, I drove through Jackson, and they pretty much shut down that place since Dion left. But yeah, it's a cool little place. I've been here before, and I had to put this sweatshirt on though. It just started to get below 60, so I was feeling a little chill here.
So, was it a flight down there, or was it a road trip down there for you, Bill?
You know, I took a nice long 14-hour drive that took me about 15 and a half hours, just kind of on a whim to see some friends for the holidays and get away from the bitterly cold weather. But this trip will take me from Hattiesburg to Denver, also driving. So it's not well thought out, but right now I am thought out. So that's the good thing.
A guy named Brett in jean shorts hasn't asked you for any money, has he?
No volleyball courts to fund at this point. I think that's all been said.
Well, see, I have a friend who was the SID for the volleyball team at Southern Miss last year, and he got out like a month before this news broke. He's up at somewhere in the Northeast with the hockey team doing SID now. Oh yeah, he was sending messages like, "I am so glad I'm not down there." But Bill, where I was going to go was with that road trip down to Mississippi. There's some beautiful country you can get going through the Ozarks, and I want to know if you went through this little town in Arkansas that's got a giant raven statue right in their town square. One of the creepiest, weirdest things I've ever experienced. Where it's like Ravenden, Arkansas, or something like that. In there, right in the middle of their town, is just this giant raven statue that's really creepy. And I don't know, it's always stood out in my memory as being something. I've driven past it a couple times, and every single time it's like, no offense to the people of Ravenden, if you're a listener from down there, no offense, but it is a creepy statue.
No, I didn't do that, but for some reason my GPS had me parade through Pine Bluff like 2 or 3 times. That's not necessarily a hot spot for vacationing, but I got a good view of Pine Bluff, Arkansas.
Mm-hmm. In the rear view.
Yeah,
Bill,
minus 50 degrees there either.
Yeah, Bill Doleman rubbing it in that he's warm.
I got a picture of the Raven. I'll bring it up at some point.
That's wonderful. Recruiting. You are very cautious about recruiting. You've always been very cautious about recruiting, but you've also been right there, and you've seen it firsthand. The fruits of recruiting, that's the development phase, and you do identify a talent. You put work in on a kid for 3 years, and then there's 2 years of wow on the football field and off the football field academically with Nebraska. So knowing where you stand on the whole recruiting world, takeaways from yesterday, what did you think of Coach Rhule and in Nebraska's class?
Okay, well, for the moment, I think it was really impressive what they were able to put together in the short amount of time. I think most notably, not necessarily, I shouldn't say not necessarily, but I think first and foremost that they were able to keep the previous commitments committed, that they identified that they were players that they could help them out. They certainly could have been more like the cold reality that I think a lot of players that had previously committed to Colorado, when they were just flat out said, we don't want you anymore, bye. I mean, there was some, pretty harsh tactics, I think, around, I shouldn't say necessarily Colorado, but, from what you read about new staffs coming in and saying they either didn't call the guy or just said, we don't want you anymore, goodbye. And that was that. So I think the fact that they identified those players that had committed and did want them for the most part and kept them in the fold, I thought that was pretty impressive. And again, I said this a couple of weeks ago, the University of Nebraska doesn't change. The facilities don't change. They're actually getting better and will be, completed by this summer. The academic opportunities at the University of Nebraska, the only thing that changed were the names on the nameplates in the football coaches' offices, right? The University of Nebraska, the people of Nebraska, the fans, the passion, that does not change. So that's a selling point for anybody who wants to be a part of what Nebraska's selling, right? And then I think they went out and identified players that are part of the system that they talk about that they have had. And I think the Bryce Turner, get from Texas was one that had people at Nebraska going, whoa, what are we doing here? The guy doesn't have any stars. Well, lo and behold, he commits to Nebraska and he becomes a 3-star, right? So I think that's where the scientific aspect of stars kind of gets thrown out the window. Nebraska likes him. A couple other places give him some interest, and all of a sudden he's a 3-star. The same with the offensive lineman or the defensive, whatever. He's the lineman from South Dakota. Didn't have any stars, going to North Dakota. Nebraska wants him. All of a sudden, he's a 3-star guy. And people say, I've always kind of had my eye on him. Recruiting analysts just kind of feed off of each other, and the stars kind of align when they see who's recruiting a certain guy. But I thought the Turner one, the kid out of Texas, was a tell as to what kind of player they go after and how they believe in their development. And there are a few others like that. And I think that they also got transfer portal guys that have coaches that they can develop a pretty fast trust with. And I thought that was significant. A guy like Jeff Sims saying, I want to go play where I believe in the coaches believe in me, and I think we can have a fruitful relationship. So I thought the way, transfer portal guys responded to them, not just because they were pouncing on an opportunity, but I thought that was also pretty something to be respected.
Bill Doleman's with us here. It's Hail Varsity Radio as Bill's throwing some of his personal biases aside to talk recruiting with us here.
I'm trying to play the game with you guys, okay? Because let me ask you this. If I were to ask you who half of the players or 67% of the players were in the last 2 Nebraska football recruiting classes, I'm guessing not many of you could rattle off the names as easily as you can rattle off the ones.
I can't tell you who's. We can tell you who's here and versus who's not, because most of them aren't here.
How excited people were on signing day. This guy, and then all of a sudden it was like, I forgot that guy was part of that class. I didn't even know he was still around when he entered the transfer portal. I think I saw this in Hail Varsity today. Could be wrong because I read a few of the analysis. What the attrition rate is, somewhere in the 40 to 50% range.
42%. We just talked to Brandon last segment. That's his story. That's his article.
Right. So, how many of these guys that we're excited about, some more than others, but how many of these guys are going to be around at this time next year? I'm asking this also, and how many more guys will Nebraska bring in February? And remember, a year ago, Nebraska's defensive line went into a complete transformation after the spring game.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not done with the players who they signed, who are here. There are guys that could still transfer out. The portal is still open. The guys can leave at any time. And, Nebraska might have another dozen players by the time, they break for the summer.
Well, Bill, when you just look at this class in particular, let's say that somewhere around 40%, let's just throw a random number out, 40% of them are on the field next year contributing, maybe not starters, but they're getting out there, getting some playing time. And, it's a larger percentage we've seen in years past of true freshmen getting some action on the field. Is that a good thing for Husker football, or is that a bad thing for Husker football? What's your take on that? Do you think that it's better if there's talent around and these guys need some time to develop and get in, become starters, or do you think it's a good thing if Matt Rhule's first class, knocks it out of the park and you're finding freshmen that are good enough to contribute?
Well, I think there's two sides to that. If there are freshmen and that number of freshmen who come in to compete, then that's a good thing because you brought in guys who believe that they can compete and they came in and they busted their asses. And I'm guessing they're not just going to give playing time to guys just because they're the ones they signed them. I think that this staff knows they've got to play the guys who are hungriest and who are the best throughout the week, and they're the ones who deserve to play. That also identifies guys that are in the program that may not have that same kind of hunger. And I think you also want to identify that. Matt Rhule has said several times, you got to, you want the guys who want to be here. And if you have people who show up and mail it in during strength and conditioning, mail it in during the spring, and come fall, it's freshmen who are on the field. Well, you've identified those guys who really aren't here to help you out, and you've identified the ones who are. I think we all know that the long snapper from Florida and Ortiz, is it? And Alvano will probably be two right off the top who will help Nebraska in some way, shape, or another. And I think that's a positive thing. Nebraska brought in a long snapper last year, and I don't recall them having a single issue with a long snap in special teams play last year at all. That was positive. That guy graduated. Now they brought in another one. So I think there's value in keeping a spot open for somebody who's not going to be a detriment to you. And I think Alvano is just a spectacular kicker who could have an impact next year.
Bill Doleman with us. He is down in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, as we are spending
Christmas like Hattiesburg.
What's up?
Nothing screams Christmas like Hattiesburg.
Hey, nothing screams Christmas like Bill Doleman in warm air. That's all right. What do you think of the Casey Thompson Sims dynamic here and the quarterback room moving forward?
Well, I think it's a mature room, that's for sure. I mean, you think back to where Nebraska was just a couple of years ago with Adrian Martinez and how healthy he was going to be year after year, and then who was his backup. A couple of years ago, we were thankful that Noah Vedral came in for a cup of coffee because that provided some experienced backup. Chubba last year at least had been around the college game. He didn't have many snaps at all at Florida State, right? He'd been hurt so much, so he didn't have a lot of on-the-field experience, but he had on-campus experience. So that was a positive. But if Casey Thompson comes back at 29, 30 years of age, I think that's a positive. He's an experienced guy. He's a mature guy. There's no doubt about the maturity level of Casey Thompson. And he's a quality quarterback, I think. And to have a guy like Sims, who does have experience at a Power 5 program, and not just on campus, but on the field, whether one or the other is the starter and the backup, Nebraska has a very good situation in terms of experienced quarterback play. And hey, I'm long going to be a Logan Smothers fan as long as he's at Nebraska. And if he leaves Nebraska and transfers, you know what? He has done his time and he has gone through an awful lot. But Smothers has been around, so Nebraska's got experience in that room that I don't think it's had. Oh my gosh, you'd have to go probably back to Turner Gillen, Nate Mason, maybe Charlie Frazier, and Mike Grant. That's a pretty good situation for Satterfield and Rhule to have.
What do you think of the Dylan Raiola sweepstakes?
I'm curious to hear what Bill's got to say about this.
I'm guessing Nebraska will be in the Dylan Raiola sweepstakes, and I believe that they will be all in, and no matter what the stories were prior, right or wrong, true or false, I think they will be all in and very attentive to the prospects of bringing in Dylan Raiola. It certainly is exciting. And I thought, more importantly, I thought Matt Rhule gave a great explanation yesterday as to why he brought, kept Donovan Raiola on staff. He was part of a system. He's part of a tree. He's part of a culture that they both understand, and they speak the same offensive line language. Now, I'm sure that, Matt Rhule knows, hey, he's got a pretty good nephew. But I think people should have an understanding of why Matt Rhule kept him on staff and is giving him an opportunity to really prove himself as an offensive line coach. And if he happens to bring his nephew into the fold, all the better.
The first question from Rhule to Papa Raiola isn't going to be on the rocks or blended, is it?
I think it's going to be, what suite would you like, and what can we do to make your time here at Nebraska as an alum is comfortable? And I'm sure Dominic's going to do quite well as a proud Papa alum if that happens.
Bill, I'm proud of you for the professional answer there after Schmidt came off the top rope. I'm proud of you for that.
Yeah, look, when he decommitted from Ohio State, that just kicked off recruiting 2024 in an absolute frenzy, and people had forgotten that there was a signing day coming up on Wednesday. Now we're past that. Now it's all 20. Here's what I hope, though. Okay, if he does go to UCLA USC and plays for Lincoln Riley, and he can promise him all kinds of Heismans. If he does go to Georgia or someplace, I certainly hope Nebraska fans don't think that reflects negatively on Matt Rhule and, says, oh, see, we should have gone with.
No.
But I think there will be a small faction of people say that Rhule couldn't get it done. And I just don't think
that's a tough competition. Bill, Merry Christmas to you, brother. We'll see you when you get back.
Love you guys, and Merry Christmas to all the Huskers out there. Go Big Red.
There he is, Bill Doleman with us. Good stuff from the Pride of Fairbury. Gary Barnett on the way. It's Hail Varsity. We're presented by Currency.
Running on empty? Don't let aging drain your body. Limitless Male can help you recharge safely under medical care. As you age, your body produces less testosterone, which can cause one or more symptoms: trouble sleeping, no energy, loss of muscle mass, poor concentration, belly fat, low sex drive, depression. Limitless Male can eliminate these symptoms with testosterone replacement therapy and re-energize your life. Schedule a free consult at limitlessmale.com.
This holiday ad will be over in 27 seconds. Unlike the new Duracell battery with Power Boost ingredients that can last 19,976 seconds in your kid's RC motorcycle, or 6,801 seconds on your beard trimmer for this year's family photo, or 5,172 seconds on your electric frother for some holiday eggnog, and many more seconds to get more out of your holiday season. Duracell, unlike this ad, engineered for more.
Some things can wait. Decorating for the holidays. Shopping. Hey, there's always next day delivery. But if you're 50 or older or live with a chronic condition, untreated COVID could be deadly. And if you don't get treatment within days, you might not be able to. So, got COVID symptoms? Talk to a doctor and get treatment right away. Because it just can't wait. We can do this. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
If you're not already a Hail Varsity subscriber, what are you waiting for? Sign up for a Hail Varsity subscription to receive exclusive breaking news coverage of Nebraska football, volleyball, and more. Subscriptions include 10 print issues of the Hail Varsity magazine per year, the annual Hail Varsity football yearbook, plus complete access to everything on hailvarsity.com. Visit hailvarsity.com to sign up today and get your first month free.
'Twas the night before approval, and I heard all through the city, I want a nicer, newer car, but my credit, oh, what a pity. I wanted a truck, mama, an SUV, but maybe a car be more practical. We'll see. There arose such a noise on my radio, I knew right then I had to go see Approved by Joe. He asked, have you been turned down before? Still making payments on that old sled? Worried about getting Scrooged? Come here instead. With very quick work and very little pain, I heard Approved by Joe call them by name. On Chris, on Josh, on Sam, Don, and Lorenzo, on Andrea, on Kendall, let's get these customers handled. When what to my wondering eyes did appear, with $5 down, a credit approval, my dear. Joe wants your trade, he'll pay more than anyone, and his team won't quit until they get your deal done. With our For the People credit approval process, bring us $5, bring us your trade, we'll take out the stress. I heard him exclaim as I had the store in sight, happy approvals to all, and to all a nicer, newer ride. I'm Joe Clemens, and I'm your dealer for the people. Come see us at Capital City Automax or online at approvedbyjoe.com. Approvedbyjoe.com. www.approvedbyjoe.com.
All terms subject to approval. Some minimum requirements. Ho, ho, ho.
He's in his 30s, but sounds like he was born with a stogie in one hand and a brew in the other.
Now, say my name.
It's Schmitty on Hail Varsity Radio.
I got the body of a taut, preteen Swedish boy.
Back into it at Hail Varsity Radio, presented by Currency. College football thoughts, some recruiting roundup here. Hall of Fame coach Gary Barnett with us. Coach, thanks for a few minutes. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. How are we doing?
Doing well, Chris. Thank you for the well wishes. And we're just down here in Arizona. We're not experiencing what you are, so we're fortunate.
Yeah, it is a whole new world of wow, cold wise, but
it'll change. It'll change.
Well, it'll change when we get to Arizona here on the 26th, but I will be warm again soon. This time of year is fascinating because of how things have changed with the portal, the early signing period, and NIL. And I want to get your take on what you thought Colorado did overall. What was your takeaway with Deion's process and how Colorado's class ended? How did the Coach Prime effect really take hold here for this early signing period?
Well, it's hard to assess, and you know me, I'm not into these rankings, and I'm not even into the stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, any of that kind of stuff. But you know, the guy had 2 weeks to recruit, and one of those weeks he was preparing for a ball game. I think the hardest thing was assessing the guys that were already committed, and then the messiness of not taking some of those guys. You know, it was a bit like making sausage, I think. And, you know, in the end, I think you could start to see some of his effect as you heard recruits talk the last weekend. He's just got this magnetic appeal because most kids, or at least all their parents, know him as a Hall of Fame player, great player, 9-time Pro Bowler. But, you know, so that in itself creates a little excitement. So I think overall, you look at what he had to do. I think he did all he could do, and I think you'll see his effect further down the road than you will in these first 2 or 3 weeks that he's had to try to put a class together. And anymore, you know, the early signing day, you know, it isn't near what it used to be as a rate. Even when they went to an early signing date without the portal, it was all pretty exciting, but. You know, what I think happens now is the kids that are not being recruited by Power 5 schools, I think they're wise in not signing yet, because all of a sudden they're going to become more valuable to Power 5 schools because you're not going to get everybody you wanted. And so you see kids that held off, didn't sign, and then all of a sudden when January comes around, they've got a lot more visits to bigger programs than they would have had. So, yeah, there's a process to it, and I think you got to know how to navigate it. Most of the high school coaches are pretty good at doing that, the experienced guys. But you know, it's a good day. I think early signing date and these announcements are more for fans than they are for anybody else, and you just don't know. You have to, you know, put a year or 2 years in before you really know what you've got.
Gary Barnett with us, Coach. The article in The Athletic pretty much detailed some miscommunication or at least some hurt feelings with some of the kids that were given offers, told their offers would be good after Coach Durrell's dismissal, and then the kind of divorce, so to speak. What was your policy or process when you took over Northwestern Colorado? Did you honor scholarships that were given by the previous staff? I know that's a touchy subject.
It is, and we went in at 3 of us and just started evaluating every film of every player who was committed. And at that time, we didn't have a lot of commitments to Northwestern, so we didn't have to. And besides, we were trying to beg kids to come, and not cut them loose. I mean, if they were willing to come, we were willing to take them for the most part. But I think there were a couple guys in that group that we just didn't think would fit what we wanted to do, or weren't athletic enough or something like that, but not very many, not 13. But you got to understand, and fans need to understand this too, is that we were 130th in the country in offense and defense. I mean, we were probably the worst team in the country. And so with that comes consequences. And, the guy taking over doesn't want to prolong that 130 any longer than he has to. And so he's got a vision of what he thinks his player, and his coaches have a vision of what his players should look like and play like. And so there's going to be changes, and it's just part of the process. It's sort of the messy part, like I said, about making sausage and getting that phone call. And it's, you hate to say it, but it's the way the game gets played sometimes. And it's not always nice. And I know that phone calls made by athletic directors promising scholarships is one thing. And it's, you're going to break about 15 hearts or 14 hearts and get them mad. And I guess that's the price of doing business.
Gary Barnett with us here, Hail Varsity Radio. Coach Rhule ended up, and I know that you're not a ranking or a star guy, but Coach Rhule did pretty well in the portal, got 8 Nebraska kids, lost some in-state kids too, but it wasn't through lack of effort. But in 25 or 26 days, Coach Barnett, Rhule really wowed. I mean, he was everywhere. He was at a lot of different stops. He hit a lot of the state. And I think the general reaction here 24 hours later is surprise, not that he worked so hard, but Coach, that he was able to pull off what he did. Nebraska got some areas of need addressed, and there's the hope, of course, of the lines of scrimmage getting redeveloped. That's something that Coach Rhule's adamant about, but he did kind of a miraculous job. At least that's our initial impression.
Matt's approach is going to be a little bit different than Deion's. And, Matt went right after the Nebraska kids, and, Colorado signed one kid from Colorado. And so, Matt's going to take care of Nebraska first and then go out. And Coach Sanders is going to use his contacts in the South and Texas. And, it's going to be interesting to see how many guys he goes and gets out of California. But because I don't think there's anybody on his staff from California. So what happens is the staff you hire, they pretty much wherever they're from is where they think the best players are, and that's where they go. So, but Matt's approach is going to be different, and I'm sure that everybody's quite pleased with what he was able to put together.
What was your philosophy? Did you start out at home? Did you start out in Illinois? Did you start out in Colorado?
Yes, I started out in Illinois, started out in Colorado, and I signed every one of my coaches to a portion of Illinois and a portion of Colorado. I wanted a really good, warm reception and feeling and relationship with the local, the state coaches first, and then go from there. So I wanted every coach in the state to have somebody they could call on our staff to communicate with about either recruiting or coming up for a weekend or coming to a camp, whatever. So that was just my way of doing it. And I was a Colorado high school coach. So I had, I had a really strong feeling about the high school players in Colorado and how much that relationship should be worked from the college standpoint. I remember when Chuck Fairbanks was at Colorado and I was a high school coach. I had 9 kids go to Missouri and not one go to Colorado. So I was resentful, and most of the coaches felt that way in the state. So I wanted to heal those wounds. So, but that was my approach. So.
Gary Barnett with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Coach, what did you hire anybody from some of the big states? And I ask that because Coach Rhule has a high school coach that's going to be on staff in some form or fashion out of Florida. And there's also going to be a a pretty high-profile Texas high school coach that's going to be on staff. He did that at Baylor. Did you have any connections in some of the more talent-rich states join you on staff, or how did you navigate that?
Well, you got to understand, when I went to Northwestern, we were pretty much a national recruiting place. Mm-hmm. And so you don't get kids out of areas like you do at other schools. So that wasn't really a possibility. And at that time, the budgets I had wouldn't afford that kind of stuff. And then when I came to Colorado, I was pretty much that guy. You know, I knew every high school coach, and I didn't hire anybody from the high school ranks because I was already that guy. But if it would have been a different state, then I certainly would have. I always thought that was a good idea to try to do it, especially for the local kids.
Coach, let's dive into some bowl games. We're not going to be back till after the new year. So I want to get your thoughts. Early look here at the Orange Bowl, Tennessee, Clemson. A lot of orange in the Orange Bowl.
Yeah, there is. And if Herndon Hooker was playing, that'd be a pretty doggone good game to watch and be a part of it. But, I don't know if Clemson plays that young quarterback, which they have to do now.
Yeah.
Then I think I really think Clemson can win this game, but I think it's a good matchup. I think Clemson wins this game.
Alabama, K-State.
K-State's getting 4.
They're up to 6.5 now.
Yeah, no, you're right, 6.5. It started at 4. Mm-hmm. This one's hard for me, but I just think Alabama. Surely some of these pundits about recruiting classes and 5 stars, surely that's got to come into play somewhere. So I'm going to say Alabama. So somehow that's got to pay off for you someplace. And, you got to go with Alabama because of that. But, a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. So, but Kansas State plays hard, but I got to go Alabama, I think.
What do you like about the semifinals here? TCU, Michigan, and then we'll end it with Georgia and Ohio State.
I really like both those games. I don't know that Ohio State's got enough defense to handle Georgia. That's my issue there, and I think Georgia wins the game. The other game, TCU, they showed you they couldn't keep coming from behind and winning every single game, although they really could have won that last game if they'd made a different call. But I think Michigan may be the best team in the country. I think the Michigan-Georgia matchup could be colossal.
That'll be good. Coach, enjoy your holiday season with family and friends, and we'll catch up in the new year. Thanks so much for everything.
Chris, great being with you. Thank you. Have a great holiday.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom with People City Mission. We're Lincoln's homeless shelter, and this winter, the mission expects to house and feed over 80% of the city's homeless. Because when the weather gets cold out there, here's what people come to. But in this current economy, providing them with a warm bed and a hot meal, it's getting a lot harder to do. And we really need your help. So I'm asking you to please remember the homeless during this holiday season. Your support will really make a difference. Thanks so much, and God bless you.
This holiday season, switch to Boost Mobile and get single line unlimited plan for $25 a month and
a partridge in a pear tree
coverage on America's largest 5G networks.
How about 7 swans of swimming?
No, but if you're not satisfied within the first 30 days, Boost gives you your money back.
Turtle doves, French hens,
the lowest truly unlimited plan on the market. One line for $25 a month when you switch.
I'll take it.
Boost Mobile. Unleash your power. Limited time offer. New customers only. One line for $25 per month with autopay. Device must be returned in like new condition. Monthly service refunded via e-gift card. Additional restrictions apply. See your local Boost Mobile store for details.
Have you been naughty or nice this year? Cash don't care. At Jackson Hewitt, you could still get up to $4,500 for the holidays. Some bucks now, more bucks in January. So be naughty. Snap up all the ginger snaps. Wear a pretty sweater to an ugly sweater holiday party. You could still get up to $4,500 when you go to Jackson Hewitt today. Details at jacksonhewitt.com. Eligible clients can get up to $1,000 in December and up to $3,500 in January. Loans by Republic Bank and Trust Company. Finance charge may apply.
Anyone who has ever needed self-storage knows what a hassle it can be. You have to rent or borrow a truck and then find someone to help you move your stuff. And let's face it, moving furniture and heavy items without damaging them isn't easy. Renting the unit is worse. The hidden fees and admin costs are scarier than the dingy facilities you're leaving your stuff in. Why not use ClosetBox instead? ClosetBox is self-storage without leaving home. They'll pick up your belongings, store them securely, and bring any item back when you need it. The best part? Unlike traditional self-storage, you only pay for what you store. No paying for unused storage space. ClosetBox's background check storage movers are licensed, bonded, and insured and will take care of all of the heavy lifting. ClosetBox's local storage centers are temperature controlled and monitored 24/7. ClosetBox has an A+ rating from the BBB. Call 877-233-5696 now for the season's best rates. Get $50 off first month storage using code RADIO50. That's 877-233-5696. 877-233-5696.
Hey, it's the suit from ESPN Lincoln, Rob Kelly, with a scenario. Let's just say you're listening to us when all of a sudden your neighbor's house burst into flames. Should you stop listening and get help? Yes, you should. Unless he's a grade A D-bag that flies an Iowa flag every Saturday. After all, you can always listen to our podcast and hear what you missed. Check them out right now at espnlincoln.com.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back into it, Burke's Best Bets time with VSiN Sports Network's Danny Burke at Danny Burke 5 on Twitter is where you find him. Weekend analysis extraordinaire with all your NFL action. Daddy, what's going on? Do you have all of your holiday shopping handled? Do you have a few presents, gambling tip-wise, for our lovely listeners?
I actually do have all my presents wrapped up, not actually wrapped up, but like wrapped up in the sense that I have accumulated all of them. So I'm good on that front. Have not wrapped any of them yet. So I got to go back to my parents. They got all the wrapping paper. You know very well there's no chance that I'm storing wrapping paper in my apartment. So, yeah, besides that, we're looking all good, Schmitty.
Well, Daddy, what are some games you're keyed in on, either in process of maybe finally making a pick or some in-game stuff? Lay it out, my man. What are a couple ball games you're really tuned into?
Yeah, for Thursday night football, I'm going to be honest, fellas, I don't really have anything. I think it's a gross game all around, and I just kind of want to be old. I wouldn't be shocked regardless of which way it goes down. So I've got nothing in that spot, but I do have some action for the upcoming games this weekend, and I'll start in Cleveland with the Browns and the Saints. So this line has been fairly stagnant at 3 for a majority of the week. Now, you got to remember before betting all these games, the reason why the totals specifically have altered so drastically is because of these wind conditions, and it's going to be no different in Cleveland. It's going to be very cold, could be snowing, 30-mile-per-hour winds, right? So what is that going to tell you? Because winds are the most impactful. That tells you it's going to be hard to throw the ball and kick the ball. And to me, that benefits Cleveland more than it does the Saints when you have a team consisting of Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, great dynamic running backs. And the Saints are a red zone defense that ranks second worst against the run in the red zone. And it's a defense overall that has slowly but surely regressed throughout the entire course of the season. Now, if you're the Saints, the smart play would be to have Taysom Hill as your quarterback in this game. The smart play would be to have Taysom Hill as your quarterback over Andy Dalton in any capacity, and same with Jameis Winston. But the Saints are not a smart team, and they've been doing dumb stuff this whole season, and that's why they are where they are. It's also kind of the old adage of an indoor team traveling through the brutal weather conditions that would also benefit Cleveland. Now, Deshaun Watson, as their starter for Cleveland, has not been great. I think we can all agree on that. But if there's a game where he can thrive, wouldn't it be a game where you're not asking him to throw it a lot? It's for him to be kind of a dual-threat quarterback. You can run the option, and he's a dynamic threat himself. So you look at the Saints, you have Andy Dalton, you get a lick of pressure on him. He doesn't know what to do. He's flustered. Cleveland's defense is poor, but Alvin Kamara is really going to be the only recipe for their success, and I think up front defensively, the Browns will be able to contain it. As for the Saints defense, I think there's still more options on the side of Cleveland that offer threats. So that's why I give the nod to Cleveland. And I'm going to go with the money line instead of the spread because of how windy it is. I wouldn't be shocked if the kickers get affected by this. So I laid about minus 145 on the money line with Cleveland. And then another money line game that I did, fellas, was the Lions and the Panthers. Now, this one is going to be a complete square play, and the public's going to be all over it. But it's one of these games where I'm like, if I'm wrong, so be it. But I think we could be looking back at this spot going, man, we only had Detroit as a 2.5-point favorite. I mean, yeah, the Panthers have been improved under Steve Wilks, like all the credit in the world where credit is due, but they're still virtually the same Panthers team that we thought were tanking and just a disaster. They don't have the roster talent to compete with Detroit. The Lions have one of the better offensive lines in the league. They've allowed just 19 sacks for Jared Goff, which is tied fewest in the NFL. Jared Goff, knock on wood for this one, hasn't thrown a pick in 6 games. You're going up against Sam Darnold, who has been fine, but not really the reason why they've been competitive or solid, because he has a completion percentage of under 60% throughout the 3 games and hasn't completed more than 14 passes. So that's telling you that they're probably going to run it more. All right, the Lions' defense against the run this whole season hasn't been great, but there's been a vast improvement over the last 3 games where they've limited opposing tailbacks to just 2.9 yards per carry. The Panthers' defense is no bueno. Their offense overall is not strong. And even if the Detroit offense, they get a couple touchdowns, whatever, 14, 17, I don't think that Carolina's offense can do enough to compete with them to come back from behind, even though Detroit's defense hasn't been the greatest. Carolina's red zone defense has been severely damaged the last 3 games. Opponents scoring a touchdown in the red zone 75% of the time, which is second worst. Detroit, overall this whole season, has the 3rd best red zone offensive efficiency at over 70%. Detroit is fighting for their playoff life. I get technically same with the Panthers. Detroit's the better team. Like, they should win this game. And if they don't, again, so be it. I'll be wrong, and I'm not going to be glad to be wrong, but if there's a game where I'm proven wrong, it's this one for me. And so give me Detroit. I did money line as well, minus 135. As you guys know, I'm kind of someone who's willing to lay a little bit more for some security. And then the other game that I have played officially as of this moment, I did the over 48, minus 120 for the Seahawks and Chiefs. Look, Kansas City's defense has been a train wreck these last 2 games. They've allowed over 26 points per game over the last 3. Seattle still has a pretty good offense, though. They're averaging over 25. That's 6th best. They're averaging 6 yards per play. That's top 5 in the league. And Kansas City's 2nd worst in defensive red zone efficiency. As for the Chiefs, they have the number 1 offense according to DVOA. Seattle, 25th ranked defense. Their defense has taken a huge hit in the latter half of this season. Seattle's allowing 5.6 yards per play, which is 28th. The Chiefs average the most yards per play. Kansas City averages the most points per game at about 30. Seattle allows over 25, which is 29th in the NFL. It's going to be a cold game, not necessarily a windy game. So I like this game to feature a lot of points. Despite Tyler Lockett being out, I don't think the Chiefs' defense is very good. And they always go through these kind of struts where they're just really poor and people are concerned about them. This is one of those times, and I think it'll be a higher scoring battle in Kansas City.
Danny Burke is with us here. It's Burke's Best Bets on Hail Varsity Radio. And Danny, I noticed you didn't mention any of the Sunday games, the Christmas Day games. You got the Packers and the Dolphins, the Broncos and the Rams, and the Buccaneers and the Cardinals. Is your best bet to shut the TV off and spend some time with loved ones so you'll actually enjoy your Sunday?
Well, look, the Packers and the Dolphins is the only game worth watching. I couldn't care less about the Broncos and Rams and the Bucs and Cardinals. I mean, maybe I'll tease down Tampa Bay, but no way in hell am I going to lay over a touchdown with the Buccaneers, a team I wouldn't have confidence covering 7.5 or 7 in the hook against my high school team. So no confidence in that regard. But look, the Packers and Dolphins is very intriguing. I do like the Dolphins in this game. I would lean toward them laying 4. I'd also lean toward the total going over because the Dolphins have a really bad pass defense. They're 26 against the pass. They're allowing over 246 passing yards per game. They're getting thrown on 37 times per game, 44 over the last 3, which is second most. They've allowed over 30 completions the last 3 games, which is the most. 68% completion rate, which is 30th. I'm actually going to be also looking at some Aaron Rodgers props. They haven't been listed yet, but I would be looking at him over his completions and potentially his pass attempts. He averages 21 completions on 32.4 pass attempts per game. They haven't thrown it a lot, but if there's a game where Rodgers needs or can come alive, it has to be against this Miami defense in a game where they're probably trailing because I already like Miami, so I think the Packers will be playing from behind. They'll need to throw the ball to have some success. So I'm going to be waiting to see some Rodgers props. And then on the side of Miami, if you were watching their game last week, Raheem Mostert came out of nowhere against the third-best run defense for 136 rushing yards on 8 yards per carry. Well, now you go up against an actually poor run defense, the Packers, who allow opposing running back 5 yards per rush attempt. And over the last 3 games, that's increased to 6.5, the most by a pretty comfortable margin in the NFL. So we'll also wait to see where Mostert's prop comes out for that Sunday game.
Danny Burke with us, Burke's Best Bets, VSiN Sports Network. Follow Danny at Danny Burke 5. Catch the Danny Burke podcast and hear him all weekend with analysis on the NFL with VSiN. Danny, thanks for the time. Merry Christmas, bud.
Hey, Merry Christmas to you and yours, guys. Take care and appreciate it as always.
Why, yes, another morning and another day of Jet Splash's jaw-dropping holiday sale. Reginald. Yes? To Jet Splash we go. Marmaduke, Rutherford.
Yes.
To the car wash. Let us save $10 on a 5-pack of washes or $73 on a 22-pack.
Yeah, and get the best deals of the year on annual memberships too.
That's right, Frederick. Nutcrackers unite.
Yes.
Off the mantle and to Jet Splash Car Wash we go.
Shop online, too.
Even in winter, your car engine needs cooling. That's why you need an appointment with Tim at Freeway Muffler and Brakes at 13th and High at the first sign of trouble.
A lot of times people will come in and say my car is overheating or I'm seeing fluid leaking out from under it.
He'll check your cooling system, find the problem, and make sure it's ready for cold weather.
A lot of water pumps that start leaking, radiators, seals tend to shrink up quite a bit when it gets cold.
Get your vehicle ready for winter with a checkup at Freeway Muffler and Brakes. Indian Village at 13th and High.
Feeling down, a little bit out of energy? Hi there, it's Rob Kelly, the suit for ESPN Lincoln for Limitless Male. That was me about 2.5 years ago. I just did not have any spunk at all. Nothing going on, and I went in and found out that my testosterone levels had really dropped off. Within a few short weeks, they had me all fixed up at Limitless Male. They are the experts when it comes to hormone imbalance in men. That's right, it can happen to guys and your testosterone levels. They'll get your diagnosis, get you on the right track. I'll tell you, I feel like a new guy every single morning, full of energy, full of vigor, and you can be that same person. All you got to do is go to limitlessmale.com.
As utility costs rise, now is the time to replace your old system. Call Wellman Heating and Air Conditioning to learn how an efficient Carrier home comfort system can save you money on utilities over the life of the equipment. And ask Wellman about Carrier equipment that can clean the air in your home. Don't hesitate. Supplies may be limited. Financing is available. Carrier offers and rebates will vary. See Wellman for details. Turn to the experts. Wellman Heating and Air, your factory authorized dealer for Carrier products at wellmanheating.com.
Tackle tough jobs with Metabo power tools and accessories from Menards. Metabo packs the performance and features you need to get the job done right. That's why Metabo is the choice of pros. Find the right tool with our huge selection of Metabo nailers, saws, drills, drivers, bits, and blades. Save big money on Metabo now at Menards. Plus, a Menards gift card always makes for a great gift idea.
Warm season's greetings to you all from Menards.
I'm weatherology meteorologist Patrick McMillan with your Capital City forecast. A winter warning will stay in effect until Saturday afternoon. For tonight, patchy blowing snow, partly cloudy skies, and a low around 9 below, with wind chills as low as 35 below. That's the forecast on Lincoln's ESPN. Right now, it's 7 below.
Get your sports fix here. ESPN Lincoln is on the air at 101.5 FM at 1480 AM. Online at espnlincoln.com. Miss us?
Come here, brother. Give me a hug. Bring it in for the real thing.
We're on call for you. Catch the podcast at hailvarsity.com, the ESPN Lincoln app, or download them on iTunes.
Saddle up, partner.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time, Hail Varsity Radio, Thursday edition. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. Holiday gifts, hailvarsity.com/offer. Like as in, hey, we'd like to offer you Elijah Herbel to come play offensive line.
No, they wouldn't want to do that.
You did the camps.
Oh, yeah.
You got offered from some folks.
Yeah. Nowhere that was offering me as much money as an academic scholarship in Nebraska.
Then you did the academic scholarship. Some of us got neither. But
hey, you could have been an athlete, I think.
No way. Neither.
You could have really gotten into bowling or something.
No, and
you're an all right golfer if you would have maybe taken it up a little sooner.
Garbage at golf.
Maybe if you would have taken it up in
that's
middle school.
Because you and Uncle Andy haven't played in 7 years, though. So that's why you think I'm an okay golfer.
That's fair. I've only played a full 18 4 times in my life. Yeah.
But we had fun.
I'm good for one good swing a hole.
No, and I know. I saw that.
One good swing a hole is good enough for me. That's why I really like best ball with a partner, because then I get that
partner's Jay Moore.
Well, no, I like it because then my 3 or 4 bad swings a hole are thrown to the side because I have somebody else who can
try
carry
and
me.
hit it as hard as you can.
And then I have one like perfect swing every single hole, and they go, we'll use your ball this time. And I go, thank the Lord, that's why I'm here. Makes me feel good about my golf game.
Get your subscription to Hail Varsity Digital, Hail Varsity Magazine. Save some moolah doing it. And that is the final word from me. The new issue out. Amazing work. Mike Babcock, Brandon Vogel, of course, Aaron Sorensen, Jacob Padilla, Brady Altman's story is incredible.
Fantastic.
And just, get it. Enjoy it if you're a Nebraska fan, or if you have a Nebraska fan, get them taken care of. Best of tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay. There's a little question mark at the end of that, like I'm Ron Burgundy. Best of tomorrow. I have family Christmas. So excited for that.
Well, I'm pretty sure I've been asking around to people and be like, hey, you want to do the Hail Varsity show with me tomorrow? And I'm pretty sure I'm going to be the only person in the building after noon tomorrow.
I think I got one more show manana in the morning, and then
we are
break.
We are going to be live Saturday morning though for a Christmas live. If you have any last minute Christmas Eve shopping you're doing, we'll be live on ESPN Lincoln from 7 to 9.
Yeah, we are doing the
Christmas
Saturday
Eve
show
morning, so that'll be good. And then we'll have one last live show with Kranak as well that you can listen to throughout your entire holiday break. So we wanted to leave that for you. We know we're taking a day off a little bit early tomorrow with the best of show. We're going to hear some of our best interviews the past couple of months. Let me tell you what, I've already started my preparations for this show. There's some great interviews that we are going to have replayed for you. So if you missed anything of the last couple of months, you're going to hear some of the best that we have done really since our move into Omaha on 590. We're going to have some of our highlights since then, and then we're going to be back at it live Saturday morning, 7 to 9.
Perfect. Get the podcast, subscribe, and tell us what you think. Give us a rating, good, bad, or ugly. We'll take it.
Also tell you there's some news forthcoming tomorrow, which we'll tell you about in the show. I think if you follow H Varsity Radio on Twitter, at H Varsity Radio, that is, for the Hail Varsity Radio Twitter account, you'll be seeing some news coming your way tomorrow as well. We'll let you know, at least I'll let you know tomorrow on the show what that news is. It's good news. You guys will like what the news is.
Good. That's awesome. Check the podcast, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. And yes, the Hail Varsity YouTube channel. Can watch the show posted there. Big thanks to Bill Doleman, Gary Barnett, Brandon Vogel in a cabin out in the woods in eastern Tennessee. Made time for us. Thanks for your time. Talk to you tomorrow at 4 on Hail Varsity.